This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1417. Yes, you can actually save too much for retirement, by Robert Farrington of thecollegeinvestor.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. This is the show where I read to you from the best personal finance blogs on the web, with the author's permission, of course. For now, let's get right to today's post as we optimize your life. Yes, you can actually save too much for retirement, by Robert Farrington of thecollegeinvestor.com. You've heard the sayings from every personal finance pundit. Max out your IRA each year and contribute to your 401k to the maximum. And all of these are great tips to some extent. But depending on your personal goals, you could be saving too much for retirement. Yes, there is such a thing as saving too much for retirement. Let's take a look at what saving too much for retirement looks like and how you should put together a better plan based on your personal goals. What saving too much for retirement looks like. Saving too much for retirement comes down to a simple issue. Saving for retirement involves using accounts like IRAs and 401ks that are tax deferred until you reach retirement age. According to the IRS, that age is currently 59 and a half, or you will face a 10% penalty on anything you withdraw. So you need to be careful about how much you put into these accounts depending on your goals. Some of the most common examples I see are not having enough money in an emergency fund to pay for large purchases, saving for a home purchase, or retiring before 59 and a half. Saving for retirement could be too much if you don't have enough money for large purchases and emergencies. For example, if you need to buy a new car, but you don't have enough, it could be tempting to tap into your retirement accounts to help pay for the car. But that doesn't make sense from the same tax perspective as Mr. Money Mustache faced. Instead, it makes more sense to save a little less for retirement to make sure that you can meet your personal goals. You also need to be careful about early retirement. Imagine Mr. Money Mustache. He retired at 30 and he did it by saving a large portion of his income while he worked from 22 to 30. But what if he saved his income in a 401k and IRA? Then he wouldn't be able to touch the money at 30 when he retired without paying 10% more in tax penalties. That would effectively reduce the amount he had for retirement by 10%, which is a tough pill to swallow. Note, yes, there are ways to get your IRA money early. Listen on for more. Looking at your personal goals. The important task here is to look at your personal goals, both short-term goals and long-term goals. For the short term, you need to make sure that you have a large enough emergency fund to cover any unexpected expenses that may arise. If you know that you're going to need to buy a car in the next few years, or if you're looking to purchase a house and need a down payment, then you should save for that appropriately outside of retirement accounts. Keep it in a basic savings account or in a regular taxable account. For the long term, you need to think hard about when you want to retire. If you're going to be working into your 60s anyway because you need to, then saving in retirement accounts makes a lot of sense. However, if your goal is to retire at 50 or 55, then you should consider having a large amount of money outside retirement accounts, such as in traditional brokerage accounts. This will give you a big enough cushion should you retire early. You might also consider diversifying into other assets like cash flowing real estate that can provide for you earlier. Building a better plan for the future. The goal is to make sure that you have a solid plan for saving for retirement. There is nothing better than being able to retire early. But if all your money is tied up in accounts that you can't touch, your dreams will be shattered when you reach the age you want to retire at. And yes, you can plan to access that money, but it involves planning. You need to plan your savings and maintain a solid mix across retirement and non-retirement accounts. For most people who plan on working until 60 or later, the plan should look something like this. Number 1, take advantage of an employer-based 401k up to the company match. Number 2, max out personal IRA contributions. Number 3, ensure emergency fund is sufficient at 6 to 9 months of expenses. Number 4, continue leveraging 401k until $19,500. Number 5, invest in a traditional brokerage account for the remainder. However, if you plan on retiring early or want more outside of retirement accounts, your plan should look something more like this. Number 1, take advantage of an employer-based 401k up to the company match. Number 2, max out annual IRA contributions. Number 3, ensure emergency fund is sufficient at 6 to 9 months of expenses. Number 4, invest in a traditional brokerage account. Number 5, invest in your 401k up to the 401k maximum contribution limit. Number 6, maybe look at real estate as well. Note, we're still using a 401k and IRA even for the early retirement scenario. You see, the difference is that you don't add as much to an employer 401k and instead keep the money in traditional taxable accounts. While this isn't as beneficial from a tax perspective, it gives you access to your money before you reach retirement age. It also allows you more flexibility if you need to achieve intermediate goals. You can also swap taxable brokerage account for a 529 plan if saving for college is important for you, or even investing in real estate. Yes, there are ways to access your retirement dollars early. The idea that you're saving too much for retirement is usually countered by the argument, but you can access your retirement dollars early if you know what you're doing. And you're right, there are ways to access your retirement money, such as your 401ks, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, etc., before you reach retirement age. But these are strategies for early retirement. They require planning. For example, the Roth conversion requires a 5-year wait. 72T distributions require equal payments until you retire, which isn't helpful if you're looking for a down payment for a home, or if you need to pay for an unexpected home repair. You still may be saving too much if you're struggling with current emergencies or you don't have enough cash to achieve pre-retirement goals or needs. Think cars, houses, repairs, college expenses, and more. When we're talking saving too much for retirement, we're not talking about looking to retire early with a solid plan. We're talking about having a maxed out 401k, but you're needing to take a 401k loan because you can't afford the car repair you need. You just listened to the post titled, "Yes, You Can Actually Save Too Much for Retirement" by Robert Farrington of thecollegeinvestor.com. And I'll have some comments in just a sec, but first, wish you were in early on some of the best performing IPOs of 2019 and 2020? OurCrowd investors were, and now you can join them in what's next. With OurCrowd, accredited investors have access to invest directly, easily, and most importantly, early. OurCrowd investors have benefited from OurCrowd companies IPOing like Beyond Meat or being bought by companies like Intel, Nike, Microsoft, and Oracle. Once OurCrowd has selected a deal, they offer accredited investors the opportunity to invest alongside them with the same terms. As you review deals, you have access to OurCrowd's investor relations team, who you can talk to directly on the phone about your personal investment goals. Today, you can join OurCrowd's investment in Future Family, the fintech innovator removing the cost and complexity barriers of fertility care. As they transform the rapidly growing multi-billion-dollar fertility care industry, Future Family's products give everyone the opportunity to build the family of their dreams. You can get in early on Future Family and other unique opportunities at ourcrowd.com/OFD. The OurCrowd account is free. Just go to ourcrowd.com/OFD. What I got out of this article is that you shouldn't fully fund your retirement vehicles until you have a cushy emergency fund, or emergency/opportunity fund, as I like to call it. And that's certainly how I've handled it to a certain extent. However, this article is written under the assumption that the 10% penalty on withdrawing from your retirement accounts early should be avoided at all costs. What if the tax benefits from retirement vehicles far outweigh taxable accounts even with the penalty? That might very well be the case and shouldn't be ruled out as an option. I'd encourage you to read the article How to Access Retirement Funds Early by the Mad Fientist, who debunks this idea that if you want to retire early, you should prioritize investing in taxable accounts over fully funding your retirement vehicles. He provides in this article a hypothetical early retiree drawdown strategy, and the surprising conclusion is that even if you don't want to mess with things like the Roth conversion ladder or the 72T distributions, it still makes sense to max out your pre-tax retirement accounts. Let me be clear, this isn't financial advice, and you may have some nuances to your situation where it really doesn't make sense to fully fund your retirement vehicles. However, I would like to encourage all of us to make sure we're not sacrificing dollars to save pennies. And that's a wrap for another Monday show. Have a great rest of your day and start to your week, and I'll be back tomorrow as usual, where your optimal life awaits.